Okay, so as I mentioned all the way at the beginning of the year, right, this is a thought experiment that I went through 4 times with Rabbi Clapper. Right, Clapper every summer, when he does the summer kollel, right, we learn a topic together for 5 weeks, and then at the end, we pose a theoretical halachic question, and we and then everyone has to write a tshuva and defend it. The goal of the exercise is, we won't do it exactly that way, obviously, but the goal of the exercise is to show that even if people have basically the same sources at their disposal, to show that you really will come with different conclusions, and also to, which, sort of emphasizes the extent to which psak is not, clockwork. It's not like, it doesn't. You can't plug things into a machine, right? I can give you the same information, and the way you process it will be different. The second thing is that making a halachic decision, as we've talked about over the course of the year, requires weighing plausibility rather than just possibility, right? Because it requires you to make a decision with real consequences. Now, right, Clapper, the way he does it is always comes up with a very, very sort of convoluted shaila that covers like every aspect of the topic that we did. I decided to take a shaila which I think covers several issues. One which comes up in Moed Katan, and one which is sort of a derivative of what comes up in Avodah Zarah. But I want to really push you on this, and therefore this is a shaila. While I didn't actually get this shaila, right? This is a shaila that will actually happen all the time, right? This is not a. You will see this as soon as we read it in a second. This is not a theoretical shaila, and a lot of things we've talked about during the year, right? Shas Atchak, right, and things like that. And which sources count will come to the fore as you try to make a decision and write it up. How formally you want to write it is up to you, but at some point, you will defend it. We'll figure out exactly the best way to do it. I don't know if it'll be in front of me and Roy Ginsburg, if we'll get an outsider as well, right? Like maybe to get, I was thinking maybe to get Yoni Rosenzweig from Amadim, considering he's written a Sefer of Shutim, right? So, what?
Yisrael
Leif, exactly. What I'm going to do is I'm going to try to take you through the basic sugyas that I think, at least, are relevant to the shaila, but there could be others. And again, we're not going to go through every source, but I gave you, and I've tried in terms of secondary sources to give you a range, because I don't want to bias you, right? I've put things, right, on like given topics. I've given you everything from, poskim in Bnei Brak to, poskim at YCT, right? Like left-wing orthodoxy through Haredi, right? Because, I'm giving it to you, right? It's here, right? I'm not putting my gushpanka on anybody's shita on anything, right? This should not be taken as anything like that, right? My stamp of approval, right? Okay, here's the question. Okay, so dear Rabbi, and I was approached by a family who suddenly lost a young child in a tragic accident. That should be a tragic accident, but okay. I'll edit it at some point. The family, as you can imagine, is distraught, right? So we'll do this, the thought experiment, right? I'm the middle rabbi, you're the rabbis that are poskening, okay? So I'm conveying the shaila to you. Now the mother is inconsolable, and I've not spoken to her directly, right? I've talked to the father. The extended family all live within several minute walk of each other, and the aunts are equally inconsolable, as if they'd lost their own child. Okay? I was approached by the father and uncle of the child. They know that there are potential issues related to intimacy during the period of mourning, right, during Avelut, and there's also a problem of public displays of affection more generally. Their questions as follows. They know that their wives are going to be hysterical at the funeral, especially as the body is being buried. They want to know whether they can offer comforting hugs to their wives. Can they initiate them, or at least not actively prevent their wives from hugging them at that moment? However, this will cause extreme anguish to their wives. Is there a difference between the mother and father, who are mourners, who are themselves avelim, right, and the uncle and aunt who are not? Okay? Okay?
However, I assume means if they don't get hugged.
What?
However, I assume means if they don't get hugged.
If they don't get hugged, correct. Right? Meaning if they don't get the comforting, right, the comfort, yes, there you go. There you go. Okay? So I figure, this is the shaila I constructed, because I think, right, sort of the issues that we've gone through during the year, right, you can see how right away this is a Shas Atchak question, in the sense that, right, clearly, right, there is a desired goal on behalf of the Shoel, and possibly on behalf of the, right, the Meishiv as well, but that's for you to decide. But clearly the Shoel wants a particular answer, right? I constructed it in such a way to make that clear, right?
Sure.
I also took it now. to outline what I think the issues are that I've given you, that you can tell me that there are issues here that I have not thought of, and therefore I have to give you sources on. There's the question of public displays of affection, obviously, in general in halacha, right? Is it usur? Is it not usur? What counts? Which is a derivative of the sugya, which some of you have touched on, some of you have not, I don't know, but it's in the first paragraph of Avodah Zarah. Among other places, the isurim of hirur, right? And causing others to have hirur, right? That's the extent to it, we'll see in a moment, that this isur exists, right? What?
I'm not going to have seen it, at least in Pekitas.
Okay, and if not, I've given you basics, but I've given you enough to understand that sugya here. But it is in the first parak. That's one, obviously. The second one is going to be the nature of the isur of intimacy during avelus, right? Which is for those of you who are learning Moed Katan, right? And then the third issue is that what I've given you here mostly not entirely, is on the sort of public displays of affection issue. I've given you the basic sources, and most of the modern shilas that I found focus on things that are in between, right, or not, right, like I don't know, holding hands while you're walking and things like that, right? Where you'll see that there's some dispute, but pretty much everyone agrees to the extent that this isur, to the extent that we'll see the nature of this isur in a minute, that hugging counts as chiba, right? The problem in sort of determining this halachically, right, is going to be that in the classic sugyas, and this is where I didn't give you sources on this because I can give you as many as I want. I gave Sharon this for 3 weeks. I can point to you to whatever you want, but I haven't put it in this packet, right? The question of lo tikravu in general and what counts as intimacy for that isur, right? Though here, obviously, that's not what's going on. Right? There's not an isur of lo tikravu, though it's related because, right? The isurim during avelut in certain ways are similar to nida. Nida is under lo tikravu, right? Hugging is clearly up there in lo tikravu, but that's because hugging and kissing are usually what? Are usually well, this is the problem, right? Are usually considered romantic or sexual, right? The issue here is that this is definitely chiba in the sense of affection, right? But there's good reason to believe it's not chiba in the sense of sexuality, and the question is, does that have any relevance lahalacha? Right? So I purposely picked a case which is going to force making a decision on that issue. Okay? So that's what I've given you. And like I said, this source sheet, right, this sort of packet, again, it's not as much as it looks like. I tried not to bias you. So I included full sections of certain things. I didn't want to cut out quotes because those are the quotes that I think are the most important. Yeah. Right? That doesn't work, right? If I'm trying to get you, so if I included something from someone, I tried to include most of it, or significant enough that you really get flavor, and I tried to mix some popular and sort of rabbinic texts because, I want you to see the types of things that are out there when what resources you have. Okay? So that's the shaila that I'm going to post. Fine. So this source is at least the first two issues, is the issue of public displays of affection and the avelus one. We won't get through both, right? I don't think. But let me give you, I think, the Rashi Prakim of the potential problems in public displays of affection, okay? The one shuv I didn't give you here in its entirety that I think is very good is in the book by Rabbi Avram and David, or the other way around, right? David and Avram Stav, right? Alphabetically, it would be Avram and David, but since one is the father and one is the son, I'll do David and Avram, right? David Stav being the chief rabbi of Shoham, and he ran for chief rabbi of Israel a few years ago, and his son, who was in Kol and Gush with me. I gave you the Makoros from their tshuva, right? And I gave you the conclusion from their tshuva. But if you want to read the whole thing inside, right? I have the book. You can look through it. Right, that'll be. I'll bring it in, and you can look through it. If I lend it to you, then you got to be careful because it's not mine. I borrowed it from.
Would giving a hug to somebody else's wife Vada be Yasser? Why wouldn't it raise a similar question?
So that's it might raise worse questions, right? I didn't get into that, but yes, it will be related questions, obviously. Right here, I wanted to, right? There's a limited number of issues you can get into, but theoretically, right? So Monty makes a good point. This is so Monty makes a very good point.
We're going tomorrow?
What?
We're going tomorrow.
I don't think so, because I think people said they have to leave. So
What time are people leaving?
I don't know if I have. What time? Is my,
we'll go.
I can stay until.
You guys go to Mincha at 7?
Yeah.
You didn't done with us?
No.
Okay, well, we'll figure it out.
7:55 is Mara.
We'll figure it out.
So you guys can keep.
Okay,
Roughly an hour.
we'll figure it out. Okay, good, fine.
Yes.
But so Mati's right that part of the reason I'm doing this is because, I really, guys, I want you really to take this. I want you to take this experiment seriously in the sense that, no, we're not publishing your truth anywhere, right? But I want you to imagine, right, that you are publishing this, and now the analysis that you put in writing, right, has consequences. Because someone can look at it and say, well, if I decide that a comforting hug is not derech chiba between a husband and a wife, right, so maybe it's not for someone else's wife, and am I okay with that? Right? And if I'm not, how do I, either distinguish halachically, or, even more importantly in a certain sense, is how do I articulate it such that no one makes the mistake that I think they're equivalent? Right? Part of psak isn't just, and that's why, I do want you to write it up. I don't care so much exactly how you write it, but I want you to realize that part of the process of psak is not just, this is what I think the answer is how am I going to convey my answer? Because, right, there are consequences to how you convey your answer. Okay? Because someone can look at it and say, right? Okay. So let's start with the question of the public displays of affection, okay? Which I think is an interesting question in general. So the basic sugya that I think is in the background, right? It's not the actual sugya; it's the one that's in the background. That's the one from our parak, right? The first parak about Zara, which is that there is a prohibition of, and this is number one, that was just because it's Amud Aleph and Amud Bet, that Talmud isn't really there, just can get rid of it, right? Right? There's a prohibition of, right, you have to avoid kol davara, which the Gemara will later explain means you don't want to be in a situation which will cause one to have a zera. So as part of that, you shouldn't stare at a beautiful woman, even if she's single, or a married woman, even if she's ugly, and not colored clothing, or I mean provocative clothing, or colored clothing, which in those times most things were bland. So these were the things that were provocative, or whatever. And you can't even watch animals when they're mating. Why? And the Gemara adds, right? Even if they're on the wall, right, in the closet, right? Yeah. Right? Only if you know the owners. Meaning, this isn't like you can't go by a store, but if you know that this piece of clothing belongs to so-and-so, and like, when you see that clothes, you think about so-and-so, right? You shouldn't even be looking at the clothes even when she's not there. Because it says the clothes of a woman, not colored clothes. Shmamina. Okay, and then the Gemara says, that's only old clothing of a right? This is only new clothes, it's only old clothes, not new clothes. I mean, old clothes meaning that you identify with the woman. Fine. So the Gemara says, but wait a second, we have a problem. How can a breeder of animals breed animals, which they're allowed to? They're even allowed to, right, physically put them together. So, no, it's not a problem, right? They're working. Okay? So in the background is the prohibition of hirurei avera. Okay, right? That I think is just the background to this. Now, what step do you therefore need to make to go from there is an isser of hirur to, and therefore people shouldn't have public displays of affection? What step do you need to make?
Some sort of lifnei iver.
You're right. You need to come up with some sort of lifnei iver, right? So the other Gemara than this, I haven't seen maybe it's in one of these. True, is a sort of a parenthetical point, but I think I gave you one Gemara that could point to different ones, but since it's from Avodah Zarah, I brought it up, right? If you remember, right, on Daf Yud Ches, when the Gemara is discussing Rechanin ben Shradyon and his family and their sentencing, the Gemara says Rechanin ben Shradyon Valbito Leisha B'Kuba Shel Zonot, right? She was put in a brothel,
Right.
So the Gemara wants to know, why does she deserve this? Wasn't she at Tzadekes? So the Amar Rabbi Yochanan Pam Achad is a bito mahalechas v'nei gedolei Romi, and Amru Kama knows psioseh shel rivazu miyadik psioseh, because once she went and she used to walk very fine with a lot of tzniut, and someone commented on it once in Rome, right? These officers in Rome, and therefore she started walking even more,
Right.
whatever, so, or not promiscuously, in a way that drew attention. Right? Again, whether it's promiscuous or it was anti-promiscuous, it was like dainty, right? It's you sort of get the feeling this is more like, it's like Victorian, right? Like it's over the top, right? Modesty that draws attention to yourself. You know what I mean? Right? Like if you ever see anything, the way they illustrate sort of the Victorian thing, right? That the damsel in distress thing, right? Like very modest, I walk very slowly, right? I don't draw attention to myself, thereby drawing attention to myself, right? But you see, the Gemara clearly thinks that there's a problem, and again, what exactly the?
Doesn't sound like a halachicus, or it sounds like a.
So I was about to say, right now, again. What I'm going to try not to do is I'm going to try not to draw conclusions for you. Is this halachic? Is it agadic? Right? Because that's you have to take that into account. Right? I'm bringing texts that I think are relevant. Right? But I think the Gemara clearly thinks it is problematic for a woman to do something which would draw attention to herself in that way. Right? And Yaakov Emden there says it must be something that was like. He's like, I don't know exactly what she was doing, but it's clearly something which was Megara Yitzhahara. I don't know exactly what it was, right? But clearly that's what's going on. Right? The Gemara thinks it's problematic. Now, is it because it's Lifnei Iver? Is it something else? I don't, I'm not going to bias you, right? But my point is simply that makes that basic logical jump, right? There is an issue of hero, and there's also seemingly some sort of problem for a woman, in this case, to put herself in a situation where she creates hero, right? Okay, fine. Right, I think that's... Now, as a pushback, and again, I'm not going to tell you how to miyashiv this, there's a Gemara in Tainis. Now, this is an interesting Gemara, that Abba Chilkiah, the grandson of Chonia Ma'agel, he was a miracle worker. So once they sent... So they once sent some rabbis to him. There was no water, and they said, go to Abba Chilkiah and ask him to daven for rain. So the Gemara goes through all these weird things that he did. Right, when they met him, he didn't greet them, and you know that story. He takes off his shoes when there are thorns, and he puts on his shoes when there are orange. Right? Yeah, I touched on this, right? Because part of that sugya was he davened, right? He davened for people to die, and his wife didn't, right? Yeah. But one of those lines in the Gemara is that when he was coming home, his wife went out in her full, right, in beautiful clothing to greet him. So the Gemara says, "My taima, why'd she do that?" Right? Why? Right. Why does she come outside so dressed up? Right now, it's not in the house. Right? It's not because clearly the continuation in the Gemara is that when they went into the house, she went first. Right? So it's clear that they're outside where people can see them. Right. So Amar lahu kadesh lo eten einai beisha acheres. So I won't look at other women. Right? If my wife comes out as provocative as that, right, then I won't look at other women. Now, right, Clapper once pointed out that you have to contend with this Gemara because, right, the Gemara clearly thinks that, right, there were other men there, and she was dressed in an attractive way, attractive enough that it would at least attract her own husband and ensure that he didn't look at other men, right, women. Other men, either. That'd be even more problematic. But other men could see her. Right? That's what I want to say. Right? Other men could see her, right? Yeah. Which is an interesting problem because clearly she's going out in such a way that other men might look at her. Yeah. Right? It might be attractive to look at her, but the Gemara assumes that this is okay because she's going out in this way primarily to protect Abba Chilkiah. Yeah. Right. So you have to at least contend with this Gemara because, you could have said, well, you shouldn't be going out in such a way that clearly draws attention to yourself. Right? Now, there are different ways you could deal with this Gemara, right? You could say, no. like she wasn't dressed in a provocative way. She was just dressed in a beautiful way that when her husband saw her, right, it drew his attention. Right? I find that a bit of a hard read. That doesn't sound like that, but you could have come up with that, right? Alternatively, you could say, look, it wasn't that public, right? It's not clear exactly where she was, right? Like, it was like, it wasn't in her house, but it wasn't like she went out on the street like this. She went out like, I don't know, right? Into the Mavui, I don't know. What?
Front yard.
Yeah, front yard or something, whatever. Now, that could be, but it's also a bit weird. Why?
Someone else saw this on it?
What?
Someone else saw this nest?
No, yeah, well, more than that. Abachilkia said she went out to make sure that he didn't look at other women, which means that she's doing this where there are other people that he might be looking at.
Yeah.
Right, so there are clearly people around. How public it is, I don't know. But right? Right, and clearly the other rabbis noticed. Right? Now,
Can't you say she dressed nicely but not provocatively?
oh, for sure. But the point is,
that caused him to not think about the girls.
correct. Now, I'm not saying she dressed provocatively, but what am I saying, right, is that clearly she dressed in a nice enough way that it was sufficient to redirect her husband's attention to her,
Yeah.
right? Now, I don't think she dressed provocatively. I don't think that was going on. I don't think she dressed in a preacher's way, right? But the point is that clearly, what?
I mean, the first Gemara says you're not allowed to look at a woman's clothing even while she's not wearing it if you recognize her. A woman's allowed to wear her clothing.
Oh, good.
It's like,
right? So, right? But then there's a few things that come out of this Gemara, right? Now, right, Clapper, right, points to is that, well, clearly, right, there has to be a limit at which you are allowed to care about yourself and your own relationship. And if other people are going to, right, sin, that's not your problem. And that's what Mati correctly gets from the Gemara is, right, a man can't stare at the colored clothing of a woman even when it's not on her. There is no parallel to that, which is, and therefore women can't wear colorful clothing and can't even put it where a man might see it on the wall. They have to hide it in the back closet, right?
A man can't look at a beautiful woman either.
Correct. The point is,
You can't be Shogeg for that.
now again, why do I bring this Gemara? Right, I bring this Gemara because it's forcing you to think about the fact that, right, and this is always the hard part in halacha, right, is that clearly, right, if I put, again, without saying halacha, not halacha, if I put the Gemara of the daughter of Chanim and Charajan on one extreme and Abachilkia at the other extreme, right, what it tells you is, right, there are certain things that are done to draw attention of people that shouldn't have their attention drawn to them, right? And that is usher, right? And then there are other things which potentially could draw attention, right? But they're fine because they're part of living a normal life, right? And, right, just to use that as poles, clearly what's usher and what's mutter, right, falls somewhere between those poles, right? Where you draw the line is not clear. I'm just giving you the poles, right? I think those Gemaras indicate that there are poles, right? That there are clearly things, there must be a limit, right? And again, Mati is correct, and this is a point that several people make, and this has become sort of a trope, right? That people make this against the extensive, Sniyut literature that comes out, every second, which includes detailed, is that, right? Yes, Sniyut is also about getting dressed and how you dress and not being provocative, but no, it's not meant primarily to lock women away so that men can't see them, right? Men are fundamentally responsible for themselves, right? Women just can't go overboard in terms of being provocative. But there is clearly a middle ground where things that could be attractive because they're just normal clothing, right? You're allowed to dress nicely, right? They're clearly, right? But the attempt to make tzniut as totally about what women wear is clearly a mistake when you look at the sugya, right? It's clearly somewhere in between, right? There is things that are potentially attractive, right, but are still, right? And therefore men shouldn't be looking at them, but women are still allowed to wear them, right? And to erase one of these, right, and make it all about women is clearly a problem, right? I remember once in a particularly angry moment, Rav Gigi said, yelled at all this literature, and he's very gentle, but he's also sometimes just very decisive and very Svardi posek. Yeah, he's one of the Rosh Yeshiva at Gush, right? He's the Svardi Rosh Yeshiva at Gush. And he the way he described modern Sniyut literature was pornografia hilchatit, right? Which is, right, halachic pornography, right? Because you have these rabbis writing 55 million pages of, this is exactly how long the person's dress should be, right? Like, it's insane, right? Like, you read it, like, it's a yesh gvul. Okay, fine. Now, the rabbi's stav. So this is going to be one part of sort of the conceptual background to the potential problems, but also potential limitations on public the problem with public displays of affection. Okay, another prong, and this I only saw in the Stav's Tshuva, whatever. However I can't in Avo Beitecha. That's the name of the book. Okay, right? But I think they're right that this is part of it as well. Is that this is from the vantage point of what do I owe to other people? But part of what might limit public displays of affection is you should feel, and again I'm using should in the, I'm not saying halachic or not halachic, in the normative sense, right? Like you should, right? Whether that's asur or whether that's, or chayav or ra'ui or lo ra'ui of the Rambam, right? I'm going to leave open. Right. You should feel uncomfortable expressing intimacy in public, right? You should, right? How intimate you should be, right? Is a question, but you should, right? And not just public, right? If you want the extreme of this, right? That's the Gemara, which is in several places, but the Rambam I just give you the summary in 6, which is this should be obvious to everybody, even though it's not obvious to everybody. Right? You should not sleep with your wife in the marketplace or in the street, right? Or in the gardens or the orchards, right? Right? In a house.
Is the Gemara?
Well, I said the Gemara in several places. I just gave you the Rambam. Yeah, yes. This is a Gemara, correct? Right? But the Rambam adds the description. That's why I gave you the Rambam. Shlo yireh kiznut ve'egil atzmam liznei. He's saying it's not like it's like you're allowed to be with your wife, but like when you're free about where you're with your wife, it seems like znut. It's just wrong, right? And it's going to quickly go to actual znut, right? Meaning, if you're so free about sleeping with your wife, in public, right? So you may right now be totally monogamous, right? But sleeping with your wife in public, God knows what that leads to, right? It creates a right. Now this is the extreme, obviously.
So this is your mafarish drama.
What?
This is your being mafarish in the Gemara?
No, she'yer le'ekenut v'yagilu atzmam lidei znut. It won't look like znut. It won't lead you to znut.
Oh.
No. That's why I gave you the Rambam. No. It's the Rambam's parshanut of the Gemara. I gave you the Rambam because it's the Gemara says that if someone sleeps with his wife in public, we give him makas mardus. Right? The Rambam says the reason is because right, and this is obviously an extreme, right? A kiss on the cheek, right, is not sleeping with your wife in public. There's clearly a gray zone between those two, right? A lot of gray zone.
It's also interesting the Rambam doesn't say the reason would be that people could walk in on you and
I think the assumption is that people are walking in. You're in a right,
No, but
or potentially.
The problem is the problem is going to lead you to look.
Oh yeah, so
That's true. The problem's not people going to see you.
Yeah, so I don't know, or maybe people aren't. I don't know what he means. I don't know what he's imagining. I don't know. Right?
Well, the Ginas could be privately owned. It's just like
the Rachov is a bit hard there. The Shuk and Rachov, right? Yeah. Now I guess he could mean at night, right? He could mean in a public place where people aren't there, right?
Heard stories.
What?
Heard stories on the Shuk.
Great. The other Gemara that they bring, which I think is also nice, and this I haven't seen anyone else quote in this context, but I think it's right, is the Gemara in 4. Which is Amar Bruna Amarav Kol Yashin Bekilash Ish Vishto Shruyin Ba'alava Katamomar Shemi Tigrashun Mibeit Togena. Anybody who sleeps in the same room as a husband and a wife, right? Basically, he creates agunot, right? Why? Amar Yosef Fil Bishtonida. Even if
agunot is where the husband gets lost in war.
Correct. That is correct. Why? Right? This is even if the wife's a nida. Why? So Rav Amar Bishtonida he Tavalav Bracha. Right, Rabbi said, why? If you're the third party in a room where the wife is an Ida, you should be blessed because you can ensure they won't sleep together.
Right,
and the Gemara says, what?
Your guard.
Correct, Velohi. The Gemara says, no, that is Naman Natre. And he says, and the Gemara says, not true because who guarded them every other time? Right? Now, why? So now, what's the problem? So Rashi says,
I didn't get any of that.
Oh, try that again, okay? The Gemara says you're not allowed to sleep in the same room as a husband and wife
because it'll create an aguna.
So, because it'll be like an aguna. Why? Because you're going to stop them from being together, right? So you've basically trapped away from her husband. Then Gemara says, even if she's a nida, And the Gemara says, but why? If she didn't need to, you want to stop them from being together. And then the Gemara says, no, because they didn't need anyone to guard them before. Right now, what's the implication? Right? So why is it a problem?
Maybe it'll cast chashad on their previous...
No, what cast chashad? I don't think even hear her. Right? If you read in context...
I don't know.
No, it prevents them from talking intimately. Right? Meaning, the problem here... What's the problem? Remember, the problem was that, look at Rashi, Shaboshin Hin Mimenu. Right? Why is she Naguna and what's it? In Nashei Imei Tekashut, it's like they're divorced. Why? Because...
Why isn't there an issue of... there's no issue, like, intrinsically.
No, because they're not going to be together.
If they're allowed to.
No, they're not allowed to.
Nida.
Not by Nida. By Rashi's Nashei Imei Tekashenu, Shaboshin Hin Mimenu. That's the first case.
Correct. Right. So what's the assumption? So what's the assumption? Right, the assumption is they're not going to necessarily sleep together, right? Because the same thing holds for Nida and non-Nida, is that whatever is legitimate forms of intimacy between a husband and wife, right? What's the point of this Gemara, right? For this purpose, he said, what's clear in this Gemara is that a normal couple, they should be, right? Or there's an assumption that they are, right? Embarrassed to even presumably talk intimately, right? When there's someone else around.
Yeah, I'm not clear how you came to the conclusion that the second half dotted namanitrai refers to close talk.
No, saying no one stopped them from having...
No, I mean, because we're saying that this is the case when they're... Even when Nida, you shouldn't be there.
I know,
So again, you could read, and now you're being kosher to them. It could also be, no, like, being together in a room, right? You're still preventing a husband and wife from, they're allowed to be alone together.
That's not...
right?
That's not what Shemaisa dotted.
Okay.
No, I think that's why us was this.
So I thought that there's some... You're implying that they need a guard now, so it's like, well, who was guarding them before?
So you could read it that way, or you could just say no, that the assumption is that it's bad to interrupt, right? To be a third party by a husband and wife, right? And you might have thought that's overridden by the Chash of Nida, Kamashval, and it's not, because they don't need a guard. But you can read it either way.
Yeah, but even in the first half, you see that from the corner Rashi.
Okay, I will try to keep my word and not bias you, but I think you can read it either way, right? But I think the Gemara is relevant. I think the fact that the Gemara clearly thinks that third parties shouldn't be around because the average person is embarrassed of something, right? Of expressing intimacy at various levels, right? That clearly is part of the cheshbon. Okay?
So Rashi said there's no intrinsic problem of having relations with another man in the room.
So you actually can't, so I don't know exactly.
Where do we get relations from? I thought we were just sleeping in the same room as them. Are they sleeping together? They're just there.
Well, right, you aren't allowed. But you aren't allowed to be together when anybody else is present.
They're going to be embarrassed with him being there having relations.
No, that's actually us. You're not allowed to be. Presumably, it's lesser forms.
Maybe.
Presumably, it's lesser forms of intimacy. I assume. Yeah. Okay. Well, just because there's a formal isser of being together b'fnei chol adam.
There is.
There is a formal isser. I should have given you that also, but there is such a formal isser. Yes.
Right. I did not know that.
All right.
I kind of assumed. I always assumed it, but then when I saw this Gemara, I thought maybe not.
No. There is a formal isser. There is a formal isser. I thought that was a given, but I probably should have put that. Yeah, there is a formal isser of having tashmish in front of people, or when they actually can see you. Okay.
Oh no, good to be. It's kind of embarrassing when.
No, I'm just
Well, aren't there all those Gemaras?
It's motion because whatever, right?
Aren't there all those Gemaras of like people? No, yeah, isn't there?
Especially when you
have to be an aid to. Doesn't the Rambam say you have to be an aid to the actual?
Well,
no.
Presumably, whatever reason you couldn't go in when they're not in need of would not apply when she's in need of.
Wait, that's not the case.
No, not to the bia.
I don't know.
You stand up to the yichud of the
might have
bia.
thought.
I don't know, but
even though there was
there was definitely people who have
no guard.
No, even in if you go to the Israel Museum, you'll see they have a whole exhibit on marriage there, right? And they have an exhibit from I think it's Tunisia or something, and you'll see they have the chuppah tent, right, where they would give them a little tent and take out the sheet and the whole thing, but they didn't go in. The witnesses stood outside and waited for them to bring out the sheet, right? It's weird enough, right? That's right?
Yeah.
Ooh, yeah, it's heavily awkward.
Now look,
what?
It's like going to the bathroom. Yeah.
What happened?
Yeah, they're just put them into a tent together.
Who's they? Where? Who?
I just said, if you go to the Israel Museum, you'll see that, from Tunisia or something, they have that's what they did in certain countries. They did
yeah.
It's uncomfortable enough, must be uncomfortable.
Is that at the wedding?
Yes, it is.
Oh, and they held you actually at the...
Yeah, and they bring out the sheet and the... Okay.
Each their own.
Sure. Right. That's my... Yeah. It's I remember I first saw that when I was, the first time at Israel Museum years ago. I'm like... I'm so glad I am
What the little Nida corner thing?
No, not a corner. This is a This is
So
a bia corner. There's a bia tent for the wedding.
You know, I saw this Nida corner where they.
Yeah, that's something else.
That was bizarre.
That was crazy.
Yeah.
What?
They make them dress up in this thing.
A lot of
that's in the
voodoo
corner.
talismans also.
Oh yeah. And
Take on.
Oh man.
Okay.
They're filled with voodoos.
Now the primary. Okay, the primary sugya that people point to is also sort of a weird sugya, and here is where we're gonna. This is a shir we never actually did, which is, can you derive, directly, I've brought it up several times, is, can you derive halacha from agadata, right? So, keep in mind that, in principle, you really shouldn't, but often poskim do anyways, right? Keep that in mind, because this entire sugya the main sugya emerges from a very bizarre agadata, right? What?
Oh boy.
Very bizarre. So, the Gemara in Baba Basra has all the stories of Rabbi Binah. Binah did all types of wonderful, different, interesting things. But one of the things he did was that have a mitzayin ma'arta. He used to, the beginning of this is totally normal, is he would go around and when he would find a grave, he would put a little marker so that people would know that it wasn't, right, Kohanim should know not to go there.
Yeah.
Fine.
Very good of him.
That's where the normal part of the story ends. Ki mata l'ma'arta de Avraham, when he made it to Avram's Ma'ara, meaning Ma'ara Machpelah, Ashkechel Eliezer Eved Avram Dekai Kamei Bava. He ran into Eliezer standing at the door. Amarle, my Kavod Avram, and he said, "What's Avram up to in there?" Amarle, Goni Bechanvi Desaru Kamaini Lebereshe. He is like Sarah is like holding him in her chest and checking his hair for lice, right, or something like that. Makaini Lebereshe. She's like going through his hair. Amarle, Zil, Amale, Bana, Kaya Bava. Can you do me a favor and just tell them that Bana is by the door? Amarle, Leo! He said, just go in. Meida Yade Dia Itzer Bahai Al Maleka. The Yetzer Hara doesn't exist in the world to come. So it's fine, just go in. Ayel Ian Vinafak. He went in, he went out.
He was iron, and then he went out.
Took a look.
Took a look.
Yep, went in, took a look, and left.
This is awkward. I'm out of here.
So this is literally, when you want to know the source, in the Ramah, as we'll see in a moment, for the Isser of public space infection, this is, of all the Gemaras you could have chosen in life, this was it, right?
Oh boy.
It doesn't seem like an Isser. It seems like
The Ramah guy,
Yeah, right.
What? Okay. So Rabbeinu Gershom says, "The Yetzer b'hai armal leka, deinu tzorach lahaniach b'bnei Sarah shlo yikanei." So Rabbeinu Gershom says,
because of Sarah.
Yes, right. He thinks that the problem is.
You don't think it's a combination of?
Well, this is Rabbeinu Gershom, right?
Could Rabbeinu Gershom be saying it's a combination of?
Maybe.
Like Sarah's
right? Yeah, I don't know exactly, but
what does that mean?
it's like, meaning he doesn't have to not go in. Laniach b'bnei Sarah. Right, because of Sarah there, Shali Kanes. Meaning, right, he doesn't have to be worried that Sarah will be uncomfortable, right? That's what he seems to be saying.
Oh, I thought it was because Sarah was one of the four most beautiful girls.
Or because Sarah's there, or well, I doubt it's because, right, the assumption isn't that it's a problem because Sarah's there, right? It'll be awkward for Sarah.
No, because the whole Yetzer thing.
Yeah,
the whole reason he's allowed to go in is because of the Yetzer.
Yeah, but because she's the one who won't have Yetzer Hara, right? Not him. He's not dead, she is.
That makes sense.
Right?
Wait, what? Wait, there's a problem that she's gonna. He thought she was gonna have a Yetzer Hara for him.
Oh, all right. They're dead. You know what? Let's.
I don't know what's happening at all.
I don't know. I'm not actually sure. Right?
I know what's going on here.
He doesn't. Right? Or it could just be that Sarah won't be embarrassed because since Yetzer Hara doesn't exist, sexuality is not embarrassing, right? Or something like that, right? Well, right? Like Sarah won't be embarrassed because
there's no Yetzer Hara. It's Yetzer.
Or maybe his Yetzer, he won't be.
Or because he's right. Meaning, I can't tell you for sure what he means. Right? Is it that he won't have? Right. Look, I could see you reading Rabbeinu Gershom several ways. Right? Either he doesn't have to worry about his Yetzer Hara because since he'll be entering Olam Haba temporarily, even though he's alive, and he won't have to be worried about Sarah, or Sarah won't be. I don't know if she'll. I doubt it. I doubt it's that Sarah will desire him. I doubt that's what it is. Yeah. But maybe that Sarah won't be embarrassed, sort of like the Adam and Chava story, right? That like it's a world where intimacy and related issues and sexuality and nakedness are not embarrassing, and therefore she won't be embarrassed,
Weird.
right? Or something. I don't really know, but right. But
how old is she? there?
First of all, she's dead.
I know, but
right?
She's thousands of years old.
She's thousands of years old and dead.
Does she look like
right?
in her prime, or
it's
it's
Tarte L'Reusa. Look, Mati, it's Tarte L'Reusa. She's both really old and dead. Right? It's like right
arms coming out of her eyes.
You know, like I don't know.
It's
pretty embarrassing.
Zombie aesthetic.
Exactly.
I'd be embarrassed.
But the key line in Rishonim is that is quoted La Halacha is from the Nimukei Yosef, and literally this is what it comes down to. There's one line in Nimukei Yosef: Yetzer b'ha'al moleka shaminan mehagadazu. We learn from this agadata derech eretz. Right now, what does that mean?
Practice the line.
Right, which means it's the right thing to do.
Good manners.
How formal you take this is not clear, right? It's derech eretz.
Derech eretz seems to be davkin up.
Well, much more than the Nimukei Yosef is.
Are you serious?
What? Nimukei Yosef is
the riff.
Yeah, it's the commentary in the riff when there's no Ron.
I didn't.
Yeah.
I told him.
Well, now you're just being nice.
Yeah, okay.
I just told you.
You going to Mincha now?
Okay, you have to go the second. You want to wait for the
quick.
sentence.
Yeah,
so he
yeah,
says derech eretz, which means like, and presumably he thinks derech eretz because it's from a haggadah, an agadata, and like it's not in a halachic context. She'ena roi naheg imishto. It's not proper to act with one's wife b'chayotze b'dvarim halalu with things like this. Right, you can see how much ambiguity there is in the sentence. B'fnei acherim, in front of others.
It sounds like this is Vadai, not Usher.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah,
a lot of times, something that Rishon says not decharetz is posking as usher and achronim.
That's true.
Good. Very good. Good.
Then it sounds like good manners. Me just gonna say this.
Good.
I don't mean
The Rashbam, right, says something which might be similar, which is de'ein chan chutzpah de'agnina ba'anpe b'chanfe zar. It's not chutzpah to go in this circumstance. Because there's no Yetzer Hara, right? So that I assume goes more on the there is no sexual, taiva in the world to come, so it's not embarrassing to be caught in what would be an intimate moment.
What are the last 4 words literally mean?
Right?
The last word
that was what was from the Gemara, right? Remember that he is right, that he is right, that he is being held by Sarah, right? So there's no chutzpah. Now, who's the chutzpah? Right? Presumably, the chutzpah is
for Bana to enter.
Correct. So, right, this is the flip. Is that Rashbam seems to more focus not on the problem for the people engaged in the acts, in the display of affection, but in a person who would intrude.
No, presumably the Gemara is not saying that they couldn't do it in private. The Gemara is saying the chiddush was he could intrude.
Correct. Right. Okay. But if that's the case, obviously, that would prevent even learning in Derech Eretz, right? Because this would just say, if you find out that people happen to be, if you knock on the door and you realize that a husband and wife are having an intimate moment, right? Like whatever, like not. I don't mean that they're being together. I mean they're like, I don't know,
embracing each other.
So monkeys
do whatever. What?
That's what monkeys do as like affectionate.
They clean each other's hair.
Yeah.
Yes.
Apparently humans do also.
Okay.
And even the undead.
Oh, you can't have
Exactly.
My question is, were the lice dead or were they alive?
Correct. Now, what exactly is this? Now, this chutzpah, however, right? So the Rashbam says no chutzpah. Presumably, that's a Rabbi.
Well, presumably, if it's chutzpah to go in on them, you shouldn't do that in public either.
Right. So the question is, what is the chutzpah here? Right? It could be the ein kan chutzpah, right? Well, see, this is the problem. Is the ein kan chutzpah, back to Rashbam. It could be there's no chutzpah for him to walk in, or there's no chutzpah that even if he was there, it wouldn't be chutzpah for them to continue to do this.
That's kind of dumb.
Right? Now, what might lead you in that direction? This is from the Stavs again, which is that chutzpah specifically is sometimes in the Gemara referred to as expressing intimacy in ways you shouldn't, in 2 overt ways, right? So, for example, number 11, the Gemara says nechatzufa, eini, right? The Gemara in Nidarim lists a bunch of types of acts of intimacy that would lead to problematic children because of the problematic circumstances of the intimacy.
You mean like moms or anything like that?
No, not moms.
Retardation.
Different.
It's not a funny issue.
So different things.
It's a serious
issue. Like different diseases or disabilities that would come to kids is like a punishment for having been engaged in not in usher in the like mamzer sense,
right.
But one of them is chatzufa. What's chatzufa? So Amar Shmuel Bar Nachman Jonathan called Adam sheishta tova'ato, right? So it's a woman who demands sex verbally, right? She says, "I want to be together tonight," right? That is chatzufa. So the Gemara says, but isn't that a good thing? Because the Gemara in a different place says that having lo banim shafilu b'dar shel Moshe Rabbeinu lo hayu kmotam. That if you do that, then you will have the best children that are even greater than those in Moshe Rabbeinu. Shneimar havu lochem anashem chamim v'navim. K'vei gagad rosh yidechem lo k'tiv novadim uk'tiv yisachar chagar uk'tiv yisachar yodei bina leitem. So the Gemara answers who demartze artse. No. It's chatzufa if a woman demands to be with her husband, like says, "I want to be together." If she makes it clear, desire. She seduces him, whatever, right? That's good, right? But what's the point of the Gemara, right? I mean, they just point out that chutzpah, the Rashbam could be playing on this. That chutzpah, a particular branch of chutzpah, is right being too sort of forceful in sexual issues. Okay. The last source, the last Gemara that they bring to bear on this is.
He wants to kind of that Sarah was so they're having that Sarah was being chutzpah.
That there would be chutzpah for her to continue, maybe, right? I mean, that's what I'm saying, right? You could read it as there would be chutzpah for her to continue. Again, it's not
chutzpah on his part to walk in on two people doing the weird life things.
You could try to read it in different ways.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm giving you different ways of reading it. I'm giving you different ways of reading it. I tend to think that the chutzpah is walking in, but you could read it otherwise. Okay.
The different
the last Gemara in this regard that they bring up is just the general Gemara of Nivel Peh, which is that
don't speak about sexual matters.
Yeah, that Amar Rav.
Ooh.
Everyone knows why. What's going to happen when a kala gets married? Even if it's been decreed for good, right? You are in trouble. Right? You are in trouble.
What do you mean decreed for good?
Like even if God said you're a grace at tzaddik, you're going to have a good life. You one time say nifel peh, and God says forget it, you're going to have a miserable life.
Right.
Oh, well. The point of that is that the institution of nifel peh indicates that there are certain things that aren't problematic; they're just problematic to bring into the public space.
Right. Private.
It's private, right? That's what the institution of nifel peh points to. Okay. So based on this, essentially. This then brought lehalacha.
What's the curiosity? Is there any point where is this the only choice for Nivel Peh? At some point where the Gemara explicitly says it's usher?
That is the Gemara.
I just want to finish this.
That's the Gemara. It sounds pretty bad to me.
Bad.
You're like, I want the word usher. I want the word usher.
I don't know. It doesn't say like you can't do it. It says if you do it, you get punished.
He's gonna kill you.
That's by a lot of things. I don't know.
I love Ellie. It's like, my entire life will be miserable as a punishment for this mutter act. Like, what?
It could be a bad thing that's not us, right?
Oh, God.
Yoshim to you, they say.
Yeah. Okay.
Let's save it for the Shuvah.
What?
Let's save it for the Shuvah.
Okay. There's another source, you guys all jumped on me!
Save it for the Shuvah.
I said another source, you guys
okay.
I asked a factual question.
What?
I think there are other sources.
In the Gemara? I've never heard any other source in the Gemara from Nivel Peh.
Oh, wait, for Nivel Peh? For the...
Nivel Peh.
What?
For Nivel Peh.
This is basically the Gemara.
There's the Rashi.
No, the other source, which is not really, is the beginning of Psachim, which is that we go out of our way to speak in Lashon Naki, and say or...
Not just something like Shabbos or something on somewhere around Daf Chaf. I remember.
Oh no, we quote this line is quoted elsewhere, but it's not like this is like
the same line. Okay.
Okay, there's not like there's a whole sugya of Nivel Peh, like it's one-liners here and there. Okay.
Because the Gemara lists all the words which you're not allowed to say.
Exactly. Right. In every language that will ever be invented. Right? Like,
okay. To quote you, if it's just a philosophical problem, there's more wiggle room when this is overrated by another problem.
Okay, good.
It's an actual Darabban on this, or you can't have as much wiggle room.
You're right. You're right.
Quoting representative.
Yeah.
You're right.
Running him against himself.
You're right. Okay.
I also only asked another source.
Good. So, the Darkei Moshe... Who's the Darkei Moshe?
Moshe Silas.
No.
The Ramah.
The Ramah.
The Ramah.
Big Ramah guy.
I was thinking of the...
I mean, he wasn't wrong when he said Moshe, I guess. So.
Anyways.
What's the other Moshe book? Not Ikros Moshe.
Dibros Moshe.
Dibros Moshe.
But this is the Darkei Moshe. This is the Ramah.
This is very easy confusion.
So he just quotes, right? I don't have to read it inside. He just quotes the Gemara in Baba Basra and
Asr.
the Nimukei Yosef.
Oh.
No, he just quotes, right? Quote. That's it.
Oh.
I put it here so you don't have to take my word for it. Gemara and Chazkas Abatim, Nimukei Yosef. Quote. Right? No addition in Darkei Moshe.
Bina?
Who's the guy that went to Avraham Avinu's grave?
Yosef?
No, Rav Bina went to Avraham Avinu's grave.
That was the guy.
That was the dude.
Yes. Hi, it's Bina at the door. Avram and Sarah, let me in.
Does he break down his halacha in the Roma?
Yeah, we're gonna get there.
Okay.
That's in 15. Don't worry, I'm not. I gave you. I literally just put it here. I didn't like. I debated about cutting out the relevant lines of the Drisha and the Taz. Then I was like, no, because in case you want to look at it, here's the whole thing, right? I'm not hiding anything from you. It's all here, right? This is all there is to, right? Into it. So if you look at 15, look at 15. Okay, you want to see it? Look, this is how the Rama frames it. Okay. Start with Shulchan Aruch, and then the Rama will frame this halacha. Also, lishtamish b'isha klal ben gedola ben kanana ben shivcha ben mishachrer shema yava lidehi ravera. You're not allowed to use a woman, right? For like waitressing services and stuff like that, and the like.
You can't use a woman to be a waitress. You can't.
Well, we'll see what it means. But what exactly do we mean? Not just waitress. It's a very specific type, which is rechitas panav yadav raglav, having her bathe your hands and feet and whatever. Afil go maim lerchos panav yadav raglav. Afil in a gazbo vatzas hamita befanav, right, and making your bed while he's there.
Really?
Right?
That's like a hotel name.
Well, yeah. Umeziga zakos, and pouring your cup of pouring your drink.
The whole genre, 100%.
Now, the Ramah says, some people say you shouldn't eat from the same plate. And some people say that, no, these are all mutter. The Ramah says, all these are mutter. That these Yisurim were only for Ishtonida. Right? Meaning you can have, right? Meaning your wife, this is clear, when she's in Nida, shouldn't set your bed, right, while you're there.
Mix your wine.
Right, and shouldn't mix your wine. But an outsider, it doesn't have the same intimacy because there wasn't the background of assumed intimacy.
This is from a Gemara I know about, I assume?
What?
I presume these are from Gemaras that we haven't seen.
Well, I just gave you the whole Ramah. I mean, these are many different sugyot, but I want you just to see the context in which the Ramah brings it, right? These are obviously all different sugyot, yes. Okay. Right? V'yeshom kol zeinu also rakum makom yichud. Some say that it's only if it's an yichud. Right? And some people say this is only in private, but if you're in a public bathhouse, you can have a sort of woman washing your feet. Whatever. A woman washing your feet. Sort of. And some say as long as you do it l'shem shamayim, it's mutter.
It's important.
And that's why the minhag is to be making on all these things. And in this context, right, where the Ramah has said that, there are all these things that might be formally usher on the books, but they're subjective and therefore nowadays they're okay, right? In that context, right, of describing sort of the general rule, which is things that are intimate shouldn't be done, right? But if they're not intimate based on context, then they're fine. Says the Yesh Omrim, De'ein Linog Afilu Mishtu B'Dvarim Shel Chiba, that you shouldn't, some say you shouldn't, again, it's a Yesh Omrim, I want you just to pay attention. I'm not going to tell you what conclusions draw from this, but it's a Yesh Omrim, right? The Ein Linhog. What is Ein Linhog?
Shouldn't do it.
You shouldn't do it. Is that usher? Is it not usher? Don't do it. B'dvarim shel chiba, kigon layin bereishay im yesh lo kinim b'fnei acherim. Like having your wife check for lice.
It's incredibly unromantic. That's what I'm saying.
It's one of the grossest, sexualized.
Just wait till one day. That's the.
Better not.
If you go to Israel, it's almost.
Chiba literally means like attractive. What does the actual word mean?
Chiba is love, or romance, or affection. Right? That's the problem. Is that it can capture sort of a range of emotions there.
Affection,
yeah.
But that's the thing. No, what's going to be important is that's exactly the problem. Is
it's more of a linguist question than
okay.
I really don't know what the word means.
Oh, okay, fine. So now if you go back to 14, the Drisha, right? There's a parish on the tour, right? There Lashon Ramah, he quotes the Ramah, and he says, "De'ein linog afil meshtu b'dvarim shel chiva go nayin v'reisha achakim v'fnei acherim ad kan l'shona." Okay, quotes the Ramah, and then he does something which is really weird. V'nira lefia niyaz da'at.
Sorry. Back to Ramah. He doesn't mention anything about public versus private. Just don't.
It says
v'fnei acherim
at the end. Last two words.
So he says Drisha says the Ramah says what he says.
Well, sorry, I hate to stop again. But the Shulchan Aruch, isn't the sugi about not doing these things according to the Shulchan Aruch with other people because of Shema Yavalu here or Avera? Shaykh sugi to this?
Yeah, potentially.
We just didn't see those Gemaras.
What?
Those.
No, those are the sugyas at the end of Kedusha.
Okay.
There are many other hero Gemaras. I didn't give you every hero Gemara.
Right.
No.
If you want more hero, like I said, this is like Russian Pakim. What?
Right. You can't.
Correct.
Do those.
Meaning those sugyas are. I didn't give you every sugya about hero because the sugya here is a very specific one, which is
doing things in front of other people.
Correct. Right. But I gave you enough to realize there is an issur of hero, right? But obviously, there's all the sugya.
Right. You can't do things that we're going to bring yourself to hero, but the question is, can you do things that might?
Well, no, I'm also confused.
Right. That's a particular issue.
For your specific case, if your wife is Anita, it might make a difference if she is or isn't Anita for the case that you gave us.
Assume she's not Anita. Okay? Yeah, she's not Anita. That was the assumption. No, the assumption of the question is that she's not Anita, yes. Okay?
Right, she's Anita, yeah, that's fair, right.
Yeah, you can't.
Oh, that might be Chiba.
Okay. All right. So the Darkei Moshe quotes the Rambam, and then he says, and this is weird to me, but okay, the second line, the Nir Lefiani is Daiti, Shalomad came Mashkaz of Aran, he means the Nimukei Yosef, as you'll see, because he'll quote it, but it's just the person who's in the place where the Ran normally is. Right? That guy. Right? Right? He, right now? 14.
Yeah, second line.
Right? Second line. He says, I think he learned this from the, let's say, Nimukei Yosef, right? That person, right? Ahad de Garcin Rabbi Binah, etc., from the Rabbi Binah story. And then he quotes the Nimukei Yosef. And that's how I know 4 lines in that he means Nimukei Yosef, because he quotes Kosav Zeharan, Nimukei Yosef. Right? Whatever. And he quotes, right? He quotes the whole thing. Now, so look at the end of that, 4 lines from the bottom, right? This is all a quote. You'll believe me, it's a quote.
Yeah.
Right? Now, this is very weird, because clearly what did he not have in front of him?
the Nimukei Yosef?
No, he had the he just didn't realize Nimukei Yosef was Nimukei Yosef, but what didn't he have in front of him? The Darkei Moshe. Oh, he said, I think the Ramah is based on Nimukei Yosef. Right?
Right.
But, right? But, which just leads me to wonder, and I don't have any answer to this question, what was the other possibility? Right? Like the Ramah came up with this very specific formulation of checking for lice, and it wasn't based on that Nimukei Yosef. Like, I don't know what else he thought, but maybe he thought there was another potential source. I don't know. But anyways, it means not just checking for lice, it means checking for lice while she's holding her husband in her chest, like the way Sarah was holding Avram. Right? A lion bereshik shu yoshev efshar delekam on the polik. But maybe everyone would say that if he's just sitting at a chair and she's sitting there behind, the way Mati is like, ew, lice, ew.
You see this more often, where I don't know about lice, but
lice checking,
not lice, but
or someone's in a chair and
no, it's like a husband or wife or like a boyfriend or girlfriend.
Mati is routinely there when husbands take lice out of their women's hair. Right?
It's an awkward scene. You don't want to be there.
Yeah. For
no,
so many
reasons. I don't know, they laying the other person, even just ruffling his hair or something like that.
Yeah, no, that's much more sexual than picking for lice.
Right, that's more sexual than lice,
yeah, and I know this because
and that's more sexual than someone sitting behind. The kid's got a piece of pasta and sauce in your hair. Wait, I gotta get the pasta with sauce out.
In my school, in 7th and 8th grade, we used to have like a lice check twice a year.
Yeah,
and they didn't hold you in their chest. I hope to God. Yeah.
No, but we had women come in with pencils.
Yeah, we did also.
Yeah, but it's more surprising in my yeshiva.
No, I understand, but would they hold you? They wouldn't do
No, they stand behind you with the pencil.
Right, wasn't sexualized.
Okay, good. So then he says.
It's kind of boring.
So he says. Now, right? So he says it's not the act of looking for lice that is so romantic. No, really.
I seem to have not missed much.
What?
I seem to have not missed much.
No, you did, but that's okay. No, not so much. Whatever. Anyways, V'ayim b'tshuvas Rashba. Look at the Rashba. Siman Elef Kuf Peiches. Right? Dimash. Yeah, he has like 5,000.
Wow.
Yeah, Rashba has a lot of tshuva. So this is this is 1,188 out of like 5,000 in like 7 volumes. Yeah, it's a lot of tshuva. Dimash mina. The gam la'ayin bereishei lochud evei midvarim abayim lidechiba shemedam ozolitzika al yadayim vatzazamit. He said from the Rashba, it sounds like even just checking for lice without being held is romantic.
Why? That's how he applies it.
So that's what he says in the Rashba. Yeah, that's how he reads the Rashba. Yes, it's those things which bring to intimacy. It's like shemedam. Because he compares it to pouring water on the hand and setting the bed. So it's like, I feel so close to you because we just spent an hour with you taking lice out of my hair, right? this is the right. This is what in our vows, right at the wedding, right, whatever in a Christian sense, right? Through
I think it's like just a very like a big help, especially back then.
I don't know if it's just a help. It's
I think
that
the monkeys also used to have that. As I pointed
so
out.
no, I don't know if he means. I don't know if he means that. He might just mean
some of this is
no. I think
societal.
Definitely.
Yes, I no, but I assume it's more like we are married long enough that like you're not disgusted to sit there and like help me get lice in my hair.
He compares it to Yitzhak Yadayim. That's awesome.
Correct.
I'm saying for nowadays, don't like the husband comes home and the wife, like takes the lint off his coat. It's like cute little thing.
Yeah.
It might be like that back then.
That's what I'm saying. Like it is sort of right. There's something like romantic to it. It's like it's not like yeah. I mean
So
it is.
help. You're helping the guy out with like a little thing.
Correct, and like something that not everyone would do because like right, it's maybe not so comfortable. Or whatever it is. Yeah. Okay.
Oh, look, my
fine.
question.
Hold your chest and take out the lights.
Now okay, so you see, so first of all, right, that even within this, even if you accept this Isser or non-Isser, there's the machlokas about what exactly is included in it, right? Is it even lice checking or only lice checking in a very specific type of lice checking? Great. Okay. You skip down to the Lavush. Lavush says, "V'yesh omrem she'ein lenog afilu mishtu b'dorm shel chiv v'nei acherem mishum denira pritzusa." Right? He thinks because it looks like pritzus, right? It's fine because it looks like pritzus, right? Now this is an interesting formulation because this brings us back towards
what?
Right. The Lavush says the issue isn't that it's going to cause hirhurim; it's that it looks like pritzus.
It's like a Marasayan type problem?
No, I don't think it's a Marasayan problem. I think it's not Marasayan. It's that it like
It looks like you're breaking a line that shouldn't be crossed.
correct. Right? I mean, you're not actually
Not acceptable.
right. Right? It's not about hirhur that it looks wrong. Right? It's about propriety rather than causing other people to have thoughts. Right? Now again, right? Just to throw this out, by the way, keep this in mind when you try to formulate an opinion on the question, right? Right? Hugging someone at a funeral, right? You might want to balance, right? Both of those, right? Does it look like it's breaking a societal norm, right? Maybe yes, maybe no. Does it look like it is going to, cause other people to think about intimate thoughts? Maybe yes, maybe no, right? But those are different, or they're different questions. Now the Taz
in the Tshuva, what community is this person from?
Yeah, it's a mono-Orthodox community.
What?
It's a mono-Orthodox community, a Haredi community.
You are free. I'm going to leave that vague.
He lives in Bnei Brak.
You are free to make that distinction. I will leave that vague.
Bnei Brak sounds awesome.
Wait. Oh, I mean the guy who asked the tshuva.
Presumably you don't know. Let's say you don't know.
Sorry.
Yeah, you don't know. I want
right. I'm free to make the decision. What do you mean?
Okay, here I will tweak the question. You don't know what community he's from now, and there's not going to be enough time for you to go back and forth on this question. So you have to give
3 weeks by train to get the mail.
Yes, exactly. Right, and the funeral will be I don't know. Whatever. Come up with a case, but you have to. Be'ez Sharav.
His wife is crying right down around the phone. Right in the lap.
She's coming in for the hug. She's coming in for the hug.
Okay, so we'll finish by then. But what time is it?
I can pivot still.
Okay, so let's just move into the Beit Midrash, and I'll just give you a few more stories of it, and then we'll end for the night.
No, we should pass the comment.
What? Okay, leave it. He said leave it. Okay, fine. Okay. Hey guys, I know you guys want to finish anyway, so let's finish up quickly here, and then okay. So okay.
Oh, okay.
What?
You're giving us
Okay, guys, let's. Okay. Now, the Beis Shmuel, I don't know why I did this. There's just a mistake. The Beis Shmuel I gave you before I gave you the Taz, but the Beis Shmuel just paskins like the Taz. So let's read the Taz, which I did give you. I gave you both, whatever. It doesn't really matter which order it's in. But the Taz in 18, right, again, he quotes the Nimukei Yosef, and he quotes the Drisha, and he quotes the Rashba. Right? And so, and he says, 1, 2, 3, go down 5 lines, and he says, Mashma the ikar mishum deganya v'cheikahu. He says, I think the main reason here should be that she was holding him in her chest, not the lice checking thing. Kasha dimken lahaskir d'mayne bereisha. Well, so then he says, but wait a second. If that's the case, then just say that Sarah was right, like they were hugging, right? Why say? And she was checking. By the way, I do not understand the entire assumption that there are lice in Olam Haba. This is like, I just want to point out that the entire assumption of this Gemara baffles me.
There's no Yetzer Hara.
There's no Yetzer Hara, but there are lice. That's exactly it, right? Right? Like the whole thing is so weird that, like, yes,
but there's no lice.
What?
My Bereisha is
several of the Rishonim, yeah. Ramah says, yeah.
But that wasn't explicit. Right,
the Gemara doesn't explain explicitly. You could come up with something else. But the way the Ramah, yes, and look, at least the Ramah believes that there are lice in heaven. I don't know what that means, okay? I just don't get it. And people still get lice, like infestations in heaven, right? What?
It's only to help them with their stuff, though. It's only,
okay, I don't know.
Yeah, it's great. It's bad. Why you get more pleasure picking than you ever had?
Taz then says, "Venerally." The Taz says, "Listen, venerally, the trach ta'amim hayu sham shelo ratzili kanesh sham." There were two reasons he didn't want to go in. Chad mishum da'avram gufei de'ein lo ladam lasos milei dechiba mishnu v'nei acher mishum tznius kahi ma'isa she'tiach be'ishto tar hazadena. Now the Taz makes this right. I'm sorry. I should have known. No, the Stavs get this from the Taz. Right. The first is that you shouldn't be engaged in intimate acts because of the isser of sleeping with your wife in public. On that spectrum is also don't do intimate acts, which are obviously much more makil, right, than actually sleeping together. But that too. The gam kan hu me'ein tashmish. Right, now this is a bit weird, and this is also me'ein tashmish. Now, I just want you to keep in mind that language, because what's he saying? He's saying from the fact you can't sleep together in public, you also can't be engaged in other acts of affection. Right. But the bar he seems to set is things that are me'ein tashmish, and right where you draw that line, right, is an interesting question. I'm not sure, right? But just remember that that's
he drew the line.
What?
We know where he drew the line.
Picking lice in the
Picking lice.
There you go.
Well, sitting in the chest picking lice.
Yeah. Shenit. The second thing is shaloyar tavat achirim al yedei zeh sheyavu lidei hirur. He said the second problem, right? Problem one is that you don't want. It's wrong for you to be engaged in intimate acts when other people are around. Problem two is it'll cause hirur. Right. She is tashmish al yedei zeh. Al kein Omar. Mitzad Avram Atzmo hayishlo kahog in chasos shalo b'cheik tavas. V'cheik ishto shenis afil ian meresh l'chud eno nachum d'shelo yavi achirim l'dehirur. Al zeh heishev reads, and therefore he reads the Gemara as follows. Maybe it was wrong for Avram to be embracing his wife in this way. Well, Eliezer was like standing at the door. I don't know. I don't know. Whatever. And the second is that it'd be a problem if other people walked in, and therefore he said, now, Zeh Heshiv Avram Dafil Eshkiva B'cheko Ein Isser, Ki B'hai Alma Ein Tzarech L'tznios Diyaduash Ein Kan Tashmish, Mela Ein Kan Isser. He said, no, in Olam Haba there is no Tashmish. There are lice, but there's no Tashmish, and therefore no one has bad machshavot because they know that Tashmish just isn't a possibility. Just lice. It boggles my mind. Fine.
Was the serving thing?
No, sex. Okay.
If
I'll be blunt once, so that we you don't at the end think, oh, there is no waitressing and world to come. No, there's no sex. Right? That's the issue here. Okay.
What was Avram doing in his wife's chest? There's no Yetzer Hara.
She was looking at his head. Yeah, right? He was cuddled.
But the point clearly wasn't. I mean, if it seems to be a ma'aseh chiba, it seems to be a little more intimate than just picking out lice. There's some idea of
intimate way of taking out lice. I don't know.
It's the way you do it. You got to get clear.
Man, you can do it.
Chair.
Anyways. There are no chairs. There are lice, but no chairs.
Only God is down. Only God's down. Ohaba, God and
Fine. So he says, "Ein kan is afili day because again lachirim. Came muchach with that afili in barosh lechod ein nachum lachirim." So he said, from here it would sound like even just looking for lice is not right in front of others. But then 3 lines at the bottom he says, "V'nir diyesh chiluk bazet diyan lechod eino b'vnei achirim dafka beishto the kolaroa is nizkar lekir shalam ayidei tashmish v'avol dehirur ayidei zeh mashen ken bevito v'achota v'nechto ein kan zichron tashmish moter b'vnei achirim." He just says, remember, this is only your wife. Because it's right. Because it's the person with whom you are intimate, and therefore it might lead someone else to look and say, right, think about the fact that they are husband and wife and might be intimate.
Trevor Berg got a back rub from his daughter in front of us. That was okay because it wasn't his wife.
That's true.
And that's what he says, yes. Fine. And therefore he says that he thinks that checking for lice itself is usher. Okay? So that's the Taz's conclusion. Now, but what is important in his analysis is that he already brings in these two elements. Right, the reason not to do this in public is both because it calls Yehurim and it's just wrong for you to be doing this.
Right.
Okay. The Aruch HaShulchan says, "V'yesh omrim dafil meishtoin royal nag b'dram shel chiba yiser b'vnei brios habrios kedei k'mol le'ayin b'rosho chayot b'zeh ve'ein lecha yafim min atzniut." Right now, he sort of gives you the hashkafic, bottom line. There's nothing better than tzniut. Klalo shel davar. Okay, right? Anyone who follows his life in the right way will never fail, and anyone who doesn't make sure that he's avoiding Yetzer Hara, we will be conquered by the Yetzer Hara. Okay. Now, so this is sort of these are the basic sources. Okay. Now, I'm going to stop, guys. I'm going to stop reading these sources, but I'm going to give you now an overview of what is after this. Okay. What you get after this is I gave you a bunch of tshuvot from across the spectrum. Derech B'Kudecha is the Dinaver, I think. Chassidish Rebbe or something. I don't know. All right. Who says that that mixed dancing, right, is Asr Mid'Oraisa because of the sugya of L'Ayin B'Reisheh.
Wait, what?
Okay?
Doesn't explain why.
Look. Now, there are many, but now you have to realize, right, what's he doing? He's saying that what the Nemuka Yosef says is Derech Eretz, right? He says, right, he says, there's mixed dancing, right, a circle dancing. Ze'isur gamur midaraisa. Now, I could have said that's true. Yeah. Vafilo mishto usher, but he says, but it's even usher to mix dance with your wife in public, right? He said with other people's wives, that's worse. But to dance with your wife is usher because of the lice thing, right? Now, what I gave you...
He doesn't say that part, sir. I said,
no, not that. No. Okay, mixed dance, yes.
Oh, so he says, I feel Ayin Bereisha. Even Ayin Bereisha Chazal or Aser.
Okay. But you're right. But he says Aser, right?
Okay.
Okay. So now, what I gave you in 21 and 22 and 23, okay, I'm not going to read them inside, but I will give them to you, is, what about holding hands? Okay? So, Az Nidbaru, Rabbi Binyamin Zilber, was a very prominent posting in the Haredi world. In several tshuvot, I gave you 3 of them, right? Says that all of this is usher because of holding hands, and he thinks that it's even usher to take a walk with your wife for these reasons.
Take a walk with your wife?
Right?
I've seen people do that.
Of some sorts, right? What exactly he means? Now he mixes with a nida, not with a nida, etc. Different cases, but holding hands and litayel, right?
Like a big family for lunch.
But let me just make sure he doesn't. Let me just say. I'm sorry. He says that you can't even take a walk with your wife who's a nida, right? And you can't hold hands ever, okay? Guys, he says you can't hold hands ever, right, in public, and you can't take a walk with your wife who's a nida, right? Meaning he has a pretty high bar of what counts as intimacy, right? That's the point.
Oh.
And again...
But the Ramah says it's also to be metal or mishtay nida.
Seems to be the case.
What mitayel means, right? Doesn't mean a walk, doesn't mean like a trip, right?
Whatever. I mean, he used the same lashons.
Correct, but anyways.
Are you shocked at this?
Now but I will just point out a few things, and he says, should you be moche, right? The Shoel in 22, right? So now he's very, okay, let me skim a few lines here. Again, I'm not going to read everything inside, but he says, so first he says you should, right? He says you shouldn't, take a walk with your wife while she's in nida. It's dvarim shel chiba, and then he quotes the Gemara in Bava Basra.
That's about
Bava Basra is Bana guy.
Yeah, Rabbi Binah, right? Because he said even that is considered Yehurim.
So why is it nida or not?
Well,
why is it matched?
No, that's he's sort of mixing and matching. Right? He's saying from there you see how much, right? How low the standard is for things that are chiba, right? And therefore,
oh wow.
But then he says, Right? No, but I was right the first time. But in 21 he says that you shouldn't even take a walk together. Because I feel never the mutter medina, even if taking a walk is mutter, it's right that husband and wife shouldn't take walks together. Shouldn't. Because when couples talk, they speak affectionately. Maybe they hear her. And that causes other people to look and have hear her. Right? Right? And he said sometimes, they're having a fight, and then, you might overhear them. So, right? Basically.
I don't think here is in the classic. I think it's not like. I think it's just here, the fact that they're married is already
correct.
Kind of emphasis. Yeah, okay.
Correct, but I'm saying...
It's not like it's going to be here or this at this point.
No.
That's not the issue that he's... Is it?
It's generic sexual thoughts, right? That's how specific, I don't know.
I remember in the... What's it called, I think? I forget what it was, but he made it like more like a two-step process. Where first you're just going to recognize the fact that they're married, and that might lead to...
Correct, but he thinks that, watching a couple taking a walk...
You are seeing them do intimate looking
right.
You already identify them as being together.
Yeah. Right? And he says, if you skip down, he says, "Vein safek b'davar kasher b'nei azug mitaylin u'medabrin v'sochim b'chiba lefnei achirim kederach ish v'ishtu zem or hargashot v'achshavot shanot." He said, no, if husband and wife are walking together and talking romantically and stuff like that, right, it can cause machshavot, right? Again, he says even for other people, right? That was what he said in the beginning, right? So he's pretty machmir, right? He says even holding hands and even maybe walking together, right, in public is a public display of affection, right? That's problematic. Now in 22, he says. He later in the tshuva said, but you shouldn't protest with people who are doing it. And someone wrote back, I love when people do this. Wait a second, V'im Tomar, right? Someone asked him, right? Someone wrote back to me, he's paraphrasing. If it's usher, then why do you say it's usher, but don't tell people not to do it, right? Don't protest it. 22. Right? Don't let this be the mizbeach that you sacrifice shalom bayis on, right?
Yeah, that's good.
He says because, and this is amazing. He says mishum de b'shnei hadinim avur barama ein lemekor barur, because in both halacha and the Ramah have no source, right? Right? He admits that. So, and then he goes on. But what's his point? Right? This is like an amazing tshuva to me. Is he says, I recognize that neither the Ramah's prohibition against litayel during nida, nor the Ramah's prohibition against public displays of affection have any good source. But I'm still convinced that you shouldn't do it, and I'm going to expand it beyond what the Ramah said, but I won't tell you to protest. Right? So you see, right again, I'm going to give it to you, you can read it yourself, but what you see is one posik who fully recognizes, right, so what have I given you so far? You have the Derech V'Kudecho thinks this is a firmisser. The Oznit Bru, who, and Eli collates this, right, says it's not really usher, but you should be really, really machmir on it, right? Which is like weird. Okay. And then the other extreme, you have poskim like Rav Henkin, who say no, holding hands is totally fine. You know why?
Is it Henkin or
Rav Henkin. And he says, why is it mutter? And he says, why? His proof is from a Rokech and a Maharil. Maharil might be more surprising for you. Look at the 25. This is from the Maharil. And many, many Ashkenazi Svarim have this, so if you think it's weird, just know this was the minhag in Ashkenaz for like 500 years. Kasher tavo at Pesach Chatzer Beit HaKnesset. This is at a wedding. When they're coming to shul, Holei Harav Harav Chashuvim, and all the Chashuv people are walking. Vaymolich and Chatan lekrat HaKala. They would bring the Chassan to the Kala. So far, totally normal, right? V'Chatan tofeso tabiyado, and then the husband, the Chassan takes her by the hand, right? Biyado.
Takes her with his hand.
Uvichiburan yachad, and while they are holding hands, Zorkin kolam al gabe roshin chitin. Everyone throws wheat at their head and says "Ve'omrim prur vu gimel pamim." And which, by the way, I don't know what you think is going to cause hirhurim, except for be fruitful, be fruitful. I have no idea what's going on. This is minhag Ashkenaz. V'holchen yachad. So, based on things like this, Rav Henkin says, look, holding hands is not, it's just fine.
The name on him is Rav Henkin?
Yeah, it's Rav Henkin.
And it's
right?
For them to touch because she went to the mikvah before the wedding?
We're not talking about Nida. No, he derives from here that a husband and wife in general can walk outside holding hands because you see.
Were they married yet? Or
no, they're not married.
So that's what I'm saying. It's much for her to touch her stomach.
Oh, because she went to
This is the only time you're actually
right.
before she gets married.
Right.
Okay. So he thinks it's mutter, and I gave you in 27 as well that the rabbis Stav think that it's mutter, and he says they argue that look, achizat yadayim, this is 27, right? Holding hands, who efo gilui chiba klali. I mean, it is affectionate, but it's like a generic one because I'm sure l'zogam bein horim yodehem, right? Parents also hold their kids' hands, right? Oh, afil chaverim davim, maybe good hands.
Usually it's more like a follow me.
Well, one second. So therefore, it's not like a public display of intimacy. And then he says, they tell you, so he says, I heard from my father, Shmuel Stav, he said, I used to see Recheskel Abramsky, Haredi Pasek, right, holding his wife like this, right, not like hands, but like arm in arm, in Beit Vegan. And Rabbi Rinovich does this too, right?
Rinovich and
Maladumim. He says like,
who
these are the Stavs, right? Rabbi Avram and David, father and son. David and Avram, father and son. Okay?
Great rabbi.
So then I gave you sort of a funny article in the 5 Towns Jewish Times in 28, which was Yair Hoffman always writes sort of these funny articles in the 5 Towns Jewish Times where he had the video of Melania Trump slapping the president's hand away from her when he tried to hold her hand when they came to Israel, right? And he writes this whole funny article of, maybe it's because they were coming to Israel and it's like they knew the Ramah, or at least they were channeling the Ramah, or whatever, not really, but you know what I mean. What?
Wait, what? Oh.
Right? Right, not because she was angry at him, it's because, no, we're in Israel, it's the Ramah, we have to be Jewish, right? So he writes this sort of funny article about it.
They're remafed on their mouth. It's a joke.
Yes, it's a joke. It's a joke. And then at the end, I gave you Dov Linzer's piece on it as well, where you can see he also takes a more makil.
Why do we have this giant article?
What? Because I said I'm not going to cut things out and say what I think is important. I'm trying to give you things from across the spectrum.
Humorous is why you include it?
Well, he also quotes Makaros. He quotes from Makaros. Now I gave you, if you want to do Chazar on the whole thing. So in Linzer's article, he does go. He goes through the sources. Now he is more makil. But I'll just finish with this. The one thing he notes that's a bit interesting, right? He goes through some of the issues, right? That Hirurim are contextual issues, right? And but he argues, and this is, I haven't seen other people make this point, is what's worse, a public space or a semi-private space, right? So Rav Henkin assumes that
semi-private
that a private space is more problematic because it's more suggestive, right? Because he's focusing on which of the 2 reasons of the Taz?
Hear her one.
The hear her one. But Dov Linzer notes that if you take the other reason of the Taz, you could argue the opposite, which is that in a semi-private space, meaning someone comes into your house and you're sitting on the couch with your wife, you don't just have to get up and separate. Why? Because if the problem is chutzpah, right? You shouldn't be doing intimate things in public, right? So it's less problematic if it's in your space, even though it might be more intimate, right? And so he notes that there's actually this difference, that if you conceptualize this issue as more about causing hirur, the more private the space, the more problematic. If you think about this issur as, right, it's not right for me to be being frontal about my intimacy, then it's more problematic in public, not if someone comes into my space, right? And again, you can go through it. You'll see that he's much more makel, also because it's not it's only derech eretz and not halacha. Again, I don't want to draw conclusions. What's asur, what's mutter. My point is, I've given you now a range of where the sources come from, right? The poskim who take it as a formal isser, those who recognize it as derech eretz, those who recognize it's only derech eretz and are super machmir, those who say it's derech eretz and it's more makel, those who say that the focus is on the causing hirur, and those that focus on the fact that it's the wrong place to be showing affection. Right? Now, with all of that, and look, I've given you enough. Now, in order for this to work, in order for this to work, right? It's going to have to be that I don't just give you share on everything, right? Like I can't read everything for you. I gave you these, right? Whatever you feel like you need to answer the question. But element one, the aspect of the public display of language, just to summarize it, right, is now what we're talking about is not a handshake. We're talking about a hug, right? Which is clearly more intimate in a public space, but in a context where it's clearly comforting and not meant to be sexual, right? And what I'm asking you to do here is to take these sources, right? And part one of this is to gauge, okay, right? How usher, or is this isser? What types of things are usher, and does this fit that category, right? This is piece one in that question. Okay?
Yeah.
Now the rest, good luck.